Alright, let's keep going. Let me fix this mic first. There we go. Here. I'm gonna change code below this line. So okay. I'm gonna spend around 2-3 hours more here today. Let me see if it's live. The keyword let is not the only new way to declare variables. You can also declare variables using the const keyword. Const has all the awesome features that let has, with the added bonus that variables declared using const are read-only. They are constant value, which means that once a variable is assigned with const, it cannot be reassigned. As you can see, trying to reassign a variable declared with const will throw an error. You should always name variables you don't want to reassign using the const keyword. This helps when you occasionally attempt to reassign a variable that is meant to stay constant. Common practice when naming constants is to use all uppercase letters, if words separated by an underscore. Note, it is common for developers to use uppercase variable identifiers for immutable values and lowercase or camel case for multiple values. Mutable values. Objects and arrays. Mutable values, objects and arrays. In a later challenge, you will see an example of a lowercase variable identifier being used for an array. In a later challenge, change the code so that all variables are declared use let or const. Use let when you want the variable to change, and const when you want the variable to remain constant. Also rename variables declared with const to conform to common practices. Meaning constants should be in all caps. So this sentence here, so this shouldn't change. This shouldn't change. Const sentence. Why it changes colors? And here should be let. Sentence is not defined. No, I did this wrong. Sentence. What? Am I not supposed to? Const. Am I not supposed to change? How it doesn't work after we change to uppercase? And this don't need to change, but tells me to change to let. Change the code so that all variables are declared using let or const. Let me see if I change it to let here, what happens. Still same. Oh, that's weird. And now it goes back to normal. So why it doesn't allow all caps? Oh, maybe I have to change on the console log here. That's there. sometimes. There we go. Now I think it's correct. And it changes the color when it's uppercase. I don't know why. The next one. An array is declared as const s equals this array. Only to change colors below this line. Using s would be valid. Change the array to, so this is going to teach me to change the array in various elements assignments. Some developers prefer to assign all the variables using const by default, unless they know they will need to reassign the value. Only in that case they use let. Maybe it's shift that changes the array. However, it is important to understand that objects, including arrays and functions assigned to a variable using const, are still movable. Using the const declaration only prevents the reassignment of the variable identifier. Also, you can change the things that are inside the variable, but you can't change the variable itself using const. As you can see, you can mutate the object 567 itself, and the variable s will still point to the altered array. Like all arrays, the array elements in S are mutable, but because const was used, you cannot use a variable identifier S to point to a different array using the assignment operator. So using S equals 257 would be invalid. So it's saying I can't do this. S is read only. So how I'm gonna change S dot shift 0. I should change, so I need to replace the value there. Shift 0. I wonder if I can do multiple like this. Let's push. I'm gonna begin with 2 and 5, then 7. Don't know if this is possible. You should not replace const keywords. S should be a constant variable by using const. Should be a constant variable. You should not change the original array declaration. Maybe it's just simple like this. Equals 7. No, lose 7. Lose 5 7. And lose 7 5. Change the array to lose 5 7. It tells me to change, but it doesn't tell me how to change. I know shift, pop, and all this stuff should take variables out and put them in. It's probably easier than that. No. S pop 0. Also log S. S pop 0 again. S pop 0. Let's push 2. Let's push 5. Let's push 7. 2, 5, 7. Is there a easier way to do this? Let me see if I can write it like this. Slow push is not a function. Yeah. Let me search this on DuckDuckGo. How to remove multiple values of an array at the same time. JavaScript. Splice start. Open your reverse order or build a new array with items that are not to be removed. Not useful. Var removal. No, just another variable. Filter. Every new browser has an array filter method. Array.filter function. Yeah, I won't look at this now. Maybe I'll look at it later. Let's see if this works. I'm gonna try to solve the problems while I'm rested. As seen in the previous challenge, constant declaration alone doesn't really protect your data from mutation. To ensure your data doesn't change, JavaScript provides function object.freeze to prevent data mutation. And some caps first. So it's like this. And in this challenge, you're going to use object.freeze to prevent the mathematical constants from changing. You need to freeze math constants. Math constants objects so that no one is able to alter the value of pi, add or delete properties. Not assigned to read only property pi of object. I think that's right. Math underline constants. There we go. Rewrite the function assigned to the variable magic. So rewrite the function, which returns a new date to use arrow function syntax. Also make sure nothing is defined using the keyword var. Okay, so we don't need to name these functions because we do not use them anywhere. To achieve this, we often use the following syntax: const myfunc equals function. SC provides us with the syntactic sugar. Should not have to write anonymous functions this way. Instead, you can use arrow function syntax. Const myfunc. So this is const. This is magic. So it deletes this and it types an arrow here like this, and I think that's it. When there is no function body and only a return value, arrow function syntax allows you to omit the keyword return, as well as the brackets surrounding the code. This helps simplify smaller functions into one-line statements. So, what about this strict here? So maybe like this. Yeah. Magic should be a constant variable by using const. It is const here. Maybe I should keep magic there instead of making it caps lock. Yeah. We write the myConcat function, which appends contents of array 2 to array 1, so that the function uses our function syntax. And now it teaches how to concatenate both of them. Okay, so this is supposed to be var still. Just like a regular function, you can pass arguments into another function. Or maybe I need to change it to const. Then delete this. I think it's like this, and then the arrow. And delete this strict. And apparently there is something here that I need, the equal. And the return doesn't exist. And this also doesn't exist. There we go. So we just put the arrow and it's gonna return that. It's easy to understand, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be easy to use in practice. Modify the function increment by adding default parameters so that it will add 1 to number if value is not specified. Modify the function increment by adding default parameters. Oh, I think I'm gonna go back to that exercise of the changing array exercise, so I can see what the solution was. To see if it does in a different way that I did. In order to help us create more flexible functions, ES6 introduces default parameters for functions. Check out this code. Const greeting equal name. Hello plus name. Joe, hello names. Okay. The default parameter kicks in when the argument is not specified. It is undefined. As you can see in the example above, the parameter name will receive its default value anonymous. So here is the default. No, name, yeah. When you do not provide a value for the parameter, you can add default values for as many parameters as you want. Modify the function increment by adding default parameters, so it will add 1 to number if value is not specified. So it will add 1. It's confusing again. I understand what it's asking me to do, but it didn't show me the format of the thing when you wanna add more than one. By adding default parameter so that it will add 1 to number if value is not specified. So number equal 1. So it's not like this. Maybe number equal 1. Maybe it's like this. No. I feel like they try to make it harder just to, I don't know why. Const increment equals name equals anonymous. Maybe I just delete this. Equals 1. No. If I run this. Default parameter value of 1 should be used for value. So maybe it's here. There we go. Modify the function sum using the rest parameter in such a way that the function sum is able to take any number of arguments and return their sum. Okay. In order to help us create more flexible functions, reduce the rest parameter to function parameters. With the rest parameter, you can create functions that take a variable number of arguments. With the rest parameter, you can create functions that take a variable number of arguments. These arguments are stored in an array that can be accessed later from inside the function. Check out this code. Okay. The rest parameter eliminates the need to check the args. What is this rest parameter? The rest parameter eliminates the need to check the args array and allows us to apply map, filter, and reduce where on the parameters array. Modify the function sum using the rest parameter in such a way that the function sum is able to take any number of arguments and return their sum. Don't understand this at all. What is this rest parameter? Is it the first one? This is supposed to be the variable. No, the sum is the variable. The other thing is that what the variable is assigned to. Turn args dot reduce. As parameter eliminates the need to check the args array. More flexible functions, yes. Yet ES6 uses the rest parameter for function parameters. But which one is the rest parameter? With the rest parameter, you can create functions that take a variable number of arguments. These arguments are stored in an array that can be accessed later from inside the function. Maybe just change this to args. No. Oh, maybe it's just how many here. But then I need a number. Because it has to be any amount of numbers. Take any number of arguments and return their sum. Modify the function sum using the rest parameter. Such a way that the function sum is able to take any number of arguments and return their sum. Return args with dot reduce. What does this return do also? I don't think I understand this. Oh, I think
the spread operator is 3 periods. This operator allows expressions to be expanded in places where multiple arguments, elements, or variables are expected. I will also talk about the rest operator at the end of this video. The rest operator looks exactly like the spread operator. Here are some common use cases of the spread operator. You can
maybe I don't know. So instead of this, it's supposed to be this. No, it's still wrong. Maybe it's just the 3 dots. No. Provide function sum in the rest parameter in such a way that the function sum is able to take any number of arguments and return their sum. Maybe it's here. No. Let's keep watching the video.
you can add elements of an existing array into a new array. So here's the first array, certs to add, and we have two array certifications in here: algorithms and data structures, and front-end libraries. And then also we have our main array, certifications, and we are going to add the certs to add into it. So responsive web design, and then right here is the spread operator, 3 dots, and certs to add. Normally if you put certs to add here, it would add this complete array within the other array. But since we have the spread operator right here, it's going to just add the elements of the array into the new array. So now we're going to have a bunch of different elements, including
maybe it's A and B. But then it has to take the same values. And it's probably not that, but it still doesn't work. Can create functions that take a variable number of arguments. These arguments are stored in an array that can be accessed later from inside the function. So the rest parameter eliminates the need to check the args array and allows us to apply a map build. And reduce on the parameters array. Modify the function sum using the rest parameter in such a way that the function sum is able to take any number of arguments and return their sum. Problem is x, y, and z on the two first ones, and a and b on the return function, on the return statement. That's what's not getting to my head. I know I'm supposed to use the 3 dots, right? But I think it's just the way it's explained. It's kind of
elements from the certs to add. And if we do console.log,
vague.
we'll see that they're all strings in this array. There's no array within the array, and it just lists all these different certifications. Another use case is that you can pass elements of an array as arguments to a function. So let's look at this code right here. So we have this function, add 3 numbers, and there are 3 arguments, x, y, z, and then it's just going to add all of those numbers together and put it to the console. Now we have an array called args with 3 elements, 0, 1, 2. We're going to call the add 3 numbers function, but instead of passing 3 individual arguments like the function calls for, we are going to pass this array, but we're going to use the spread operator. That's going to spread out this array into the individual elements. So if we run that, it's going to put 3 here. It's going to add those numbers. Another thing to know is if there is a 4th element in this array and we run that, we're still going to get 3. It's actually going to ignore this 4th element in the array when it spreads it out because the function only calls for 3 items. Okay, the next thing is you can use it to copy arrays. So
is the arg here in the end? Function sum and the rest parameter in such a way that the function sum is able to take any number of arguments and return their sum. No. Some functions should use rest parameter on the args parameter. Maybe it's here then. No.
Let me put in some code here. We're going to have the first array, 1, 2, 3, and now this is how you would just copy the array. You would put the spread operator and then the first array, and it's going to spread out the first array into the second array. And normally, if you didn't copy the array, when you push a new item onto array 2, it would also push on to array 1 if they were referencing the exact same thing. But on this example, we're going to show that we're pushing on another item onto the array, and when we console.log, you will see the arrays are different. ARR and ARR2 are now different because it did not push 4 onto the exact same array. They're completely different arrays. You can also use the spread operator to concatenate arrays, or just put 2 different arrays together. So we have the first array, 0, 1, 2, the second array, 3, 4, 5, and this is one way you could do it, the r1.concat array 2. But with the spread operator, there's a new way to do it. We're going to say that r1 equals, we're going to spread out the array 1, and then we're going to spread out the array 2, and then that's going to create this is going to concatenate the array 1 and the array 2. And if I just comment this out, and you can say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The great thing about this is you can just actually add more elements while you're concatenating them. So let's just try that example really quick. And so you can concatenate and add more elements, and you can, if you want, you can put the second array at the beginning, the first array at the end, and it just gives a little more flexibility than just the concat function. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the rest operator. Like I said before, the rest operator looks exactly like the spread operator. It's just 3 dots, but it's basically the opposite of the spread operator. The spread operator spreads or expands an array into its elements, but the rest operator collects multiple elements and condenses into a single array element. Since it is an array, you can use array methods. Let me give you an example of that. So we have this function here, multiply. We're going to pass in two arguments, or is it more than two? We're going to pass in multiplier, and then we're going to pass in an argument that has the rest operator right before the args. Since these three dots are being passed in as an argument into a function, that's how we know that it's being used as the rest operator and not the spread operator. So when we have the rest operator and then we have the name of called the args, we can actually
Let's see. Still doesn't work. We put it like this. Oh, maybe it's just on the end. Still doesn't work. Oh, it's here that I have to use. Maybe that's it. No. So what if I also no?
Pass in as many arguments as we want into this function. So when we are passing in things into this function, the first number we pass in will be the multiplier, and then everything else we pass in will be condensed into an array called the args. And then look what we're going to do here. We're going to return the args.map. Since it is an array, you can use array methods like map. And we're going to map each element to this. We're going to return multiplier times the element. Basically, it's going to multiply each element in the args by the multiplier. So if we have var array equals multiply 2, 1, 2, 3, so this is the function. The first number 2 is the multiplier, then 1, 2, 3 goes in as an array containing 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to map each of this 1, 2, 3 into this map function. We're going to multiply each item 1, 2, and 3 by the first thing we passed in, which is the multiplier. So if we run that, you can see at the end 1, 2, and 3 have also all been multiplied by 2, so we get 2, 4, and 6. Thanks for watching. My name is Bo Carnes. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, use your code for good.
Why can't I understand this? Maybe it's here. What's that? I'll go back. No, apparently. This one, that's wrong. Some function should use the as and the args parameter. Should be here, though. No. But it is using here. And I have to put a letter there. So this function can be written as such. Maybe I need to delete this and put dot 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 n. No. It's n dot reduce. So here, thanks. There we go. Finally. Copy all contents of array 1 into another array 2 using the spread operator. That's the thing that the guy was speaking about in the video. Which allows us to expand arrays and other expressions in places where multiple parameters or elements are expected. Like to compute the maximum value in an array. I choose math max apply nowhere because math max ARR returns none. Math max expects comma separated arguments but not an array. The spread operator makes this syntax much better to read and maintain. So how does it change from here to so same thing but on different situation. Now it returns an unpacked array. In other words, it spreads the array. However, the spread operator only works in place, like in an argument to a function or in an array literal. The following code will not work. So, assuming inside of this, maybe these are true. Copy all elements. No, right, because series are true. Yeah, there we go. Replace the true assignments with an equivalent destructuring assignment. It should still assign the variables today and tomorrow, the values of today and tomorrow from the high temperatures object. So it's supposed to change here. Okay. Special syntax for neatly assigning values taken directly from an object. So it's for assigning values taken directly from an object. You have the user here, the variable, and then another constant, which has the property constant name, user.name. Here's an equivalent assignment statement using this structuring syntax. So it's the same thing, just put both of them together. So and I think I'm gonna write here before. Oh, but there's two different constants. Also, the constant height temperature is a constant. Then brackets today, tomorrow. Equals height temperature. And this assigns the value for both of them. No, I don't understand this very well, to be honest. So the first case is creating a constant name, and then is making it equal to user.name, which is gonna bind that to the name on the user. And then it's doing the same thing for age. The equivalent is creating a constant with brackets name and age, and making it equal to the user. So yeah, should be right the way it is. Just have to delete this one, this line here. If I understand, this is gonna assign today and tomorrow to height temperature. Be the same value. It should use the structuring to create the tomorrow variable. Today should be equal to 7%. So the today works and the tomorrow doesn't for some reason. Maybe it has a space here. Two brackets. Should the structure to create tomorrow variable? Today should be equal to 7, tomorrow should be equal to 8. exactly the same way that it was done here. Let's equal the first constant here. Maybe it has to be in order that you have added yesterday. Let's see. No, that's not the case. Now it works. Let me watch the video on this one. And close this too. No, there's no video. I think I'm gonna see the solution for the other one also. No, wasn't this one. I think maybe I passed this one, yeah. Get a hint. Change array values on const like you can refer or that. Access. Oh, so it uses index. That's how it changes. Much easier. I forgot you can do that. Trying to reassign a read-only constant variable, you throw an error. So let's go back to the one I was. Yeah. Replace the two assignments with an equivalent structuring assignment. So here, it's the same thing as the other one. Should still assign the variables high today and high tomorrow, the values of today and tomorrow, with the high temperatures object. Do the same object from last episode. So we can give new variable names in the assignment. Oh, so I have to put name here. Name. But how does it know which value it's getting from? That's what I don't understand. There are 3 values. How does it know it's today and tomorrow? The ones that I'm trying to get. Yeah, actually. Oh, that's all. Here is today and tomorrow. Start. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. If it was the other way. Replace the two assignments with an equivalent instruction assignment. You should still assign the variables load today and hash today, the values of today.low and today.high for the local. So now it's when the values are arrays themselves. Here's how to extract the values of object properties and assign them to variables with the same name. Here's how to extract the values of object properties. And I don't know how it's gonna be when I have to use this in practice because there's so much stuff. I don't know if I'm gonna remember all of it. Probably not. Probably have to look it up a bunch of times till it gets to my brain. Here's how to extract the values of object properties and assign them to the variables with the same name. So I guess it's gonna be the same thing from before. Today.low. Huh? And here's how you can assign an object's property value to variables with different names. Here's how you can assign an object properties value to variables with different names. Confused about this one. So it does the brackets, then puts the name. Let's try to extract. It's gonna be today for mine. Then puts age and email, which are the values. So it should be today. But how is gonna? Oh no, it's low today. No. Which date? 2 dots today. So this one is the ones I'm supposed to use probably. Today dot low. It's super confusing. And then it has a comma here for how today, for tomorrow, no, it's how today. And then comma, hi, and hi today. And here, brackets. Okay, now let's delete this and see. Yes, there we go. Man, this is super confusing. First you take the one outside of here, then the one inside, then you assign and the name you want. And you do this for however many you want on the same bracket here. And then if you want to put another one, I'm guessing you do comma, and then you would do tomorrow, then you add a bracket, low, low tomorrow. Yeah, that probably works. And then you would assign the same value to that one. Yeah, I think it's just gives me wrong because it's not what it's asking, but yeah, let's go to the next one. I doubt that I'm gonna remember this when I'm actually using this stuff. And change code below this line. Use the structure assignment to swap the values of A and B so that A receives the value stored in B. So we need to swap the values. B receives the value stored in A. One key difference between the spread operator and the array destructuring is that the spread operator unpacks all contents of an array into a comma-separated list. So the spread operator unpacks all contents of an array into a comma-separated list. Consequently, you cannot pick or choose which elements you want to assign to variables. Structuring an array lets us do exactly that. The variable A is assigned the first value of the array, and B is assigned the second value of the array. We can also access the value at any index in any array while with this structuring by using commas to reach the desired index. So the amount of commas is the position in the array. Use this structuring assignment to swap the values of A and B so that A receives the value stored in B and B receives the value stored in A. Maybe it's BA. No, I don't think it matters. Six, eight. So this is not allowed. Maybe it's the other way around. 6 or 8. Yeah, still doesn't work. So now it works. So the problem is the number, the content here. Structuring in an array lets us do exactly that. That's the format it uses on the example. Variable a is assigned the first value of the array. And b is assigned the second value of the array. You can also access the value at any index in any array, with the structuring by using commas to reach the desired index. One key difference between the spread operator and the array destructuring is that the spread operator unpacks all contents of an array into a comma-separated list. Console.log a, comma b, okay, I understand that, but maybe it's that, like that, and that doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Yeah. So when let me think. Maybe I should write the array first. What is the spread operator? I don't understand. Let me look this up. From what I understand is those three dots, but I don't get the difference between them. One key difference between the spread operator and array destructuring is that the spread operator unpacks all contents of an array into a comma-separated list. So the spread unpacks all contents of an array into a comma-separated list. Consequently, you cannot pick or choose which elements you want to assign to variables. It expands an interval object R to the list of arguments. So it's 3 dots to spread operator, but am I supposed to use this? Use destructuring assignment. What is a destructuring assignment? Destructuring assignment syntax is a Java expression that makes it possible to extract data from arrays or objects into distinct variables. It makes it possible to extract data from arrays or objects into distinct variables. The object and the array literal expressions provide an easy way to create an ad hoc package of data. It makes it possible to extract data from arrays or objects into distinct variables. It is the opposite here, right? think I'm gonna get the hint here. Do not try to redeclare A or B while the structure. They are already declared in the first let statements. Oh, the const is not used. But why is it used here in the example? Oh, it's because in the example they are not declared, and here they are. Oh, now I get it. But it should be possible to rewrite them, since it's written with let instead of const. Okay. Let's close this. Keep going. Use the structure assigned with the rest parameter to perform an effective array prototype slice. So this is the line. It's gonna be changed. Let's have the source here. It's an array. Move first true. The name of the function. Returns the R variable constant. Const R equals remove first true source. Some situations involve array destruction. We might want to collect the rest of the elements into a separate array. You might want to collect the rest of the elements into a separate array. So when you want to take out some elements, you want to leave the other elements in another array. The result is similar to array dot prototype dot slice as shown below. So we have the const list there is equal to that. So this takes the first true. Dot and returns one true. And the R is the rest of the list. So the R is where it splits the list. Nobody has to be equal source here instead of list. Function remove first true list. And returns R. Variables A and B take the first and second values from the array. After that, because of the rest parameter's presence, R gets the rest of the values in the form of an array. The rest element only works correctly as the last variable in the list. As in, you cannot use the rest parameter to catch a subarray that leaves out the last element of the original array. Use structuring assignment the rest parameter to perform an effective that R is a subarray of the original array source with the first two elements omitted. I think we need to change from list to source, but no. Why it works with list? So it's only the first part that matters. Then it's assigned the value of list to this and returns the rest of the list. And defines the rest as remove first two. Use the structuring assignment within the argument to the function have to send only max and min inside the function. So it's supposed to be used here. And it only wants max and minimum inside the function, which is here. Okay, in some cases you can destructure the object in the function argument itself. Consider the code below. This effectively destructures the object sent into the function. This can also be done in place. So it's just brackets and then inside the parentheses. And profile data is passed to the above function. Once profile. So they, if I understand this, shows are separate. The values are destructured from the function parameter for use within that function. When profile data is passed to the above function, the values are destructured from the function parameter for use within the function. So here should be instead of half. And max. Maybe that's it. Half that should be. So that's not it. Maybe it's inside this stats here. Maximum. this, but then it eliminates the rest two. It's probably not gonna work. Can structure the object in a function, argument itself. So this destructures the object sent to the function. And I don't see how this relates to this. And the const here. It should be inside of this thing here. When profile data is passed to the above function, divisor the structure from the function parameter for use within the function. Profile data is passed to the above function. The values are this structure from the function parameter for use within the function. Use this structure and assign within the argument. The function will have to send only max and min inside the function. Use this structure and assignment within the argument should the function have. I think it's here that I need to change. Send only max and min inside the function. This is gonna give me no. Max min doesn't work. If I change this. The structure parameter should be used. probably not gonna work, but this doesn't make sense because there's stats here and stats here. Damn, man. It's confusing as fuck. Get rid of the stats and see if you can structure it. We need the max and min of stats. Maybe it's here. But then, where it's gonna be? Yeah, not like this. Maybe it's here. Like this? No. What if I change this? No. So this is gonna get a max from the stats and min. And add the 2 divided by 2. It must be here, I think. Like this already tried. Max min. It doesn't work. Maybe it's just the way the question is phrased that it's confusing me. The example. Let me watch a video about this. Which one? The structure parameter. Let's look for this. What's here? Get rid of the stats and see if you can destructure it. In the max and min of stats. And let me watch a video on YouTube about this. Maybe it's here.
Muitas ofertas para você se dar bem. Para pa pa pa.
Uhul! Nós podemos fazer isso!
Simplified. My name's Kyle, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at one of the best features of ES6, which is object D.
Maybe it's here. Let's see. No. Also no. Okay.
Destructuring and array destructuring, as well as the spread operator. And these features are absolutely crucial if you want to develop using a front-end framework such as React, and even if you don't want to use it, they're incredibly useful for making your code so much cleaner and easier to work with. So without further ado, let's get started now. So to get started, I just have Visual Studio Code open, as well as the console output for all of the code that we're going to be writing. And to get started, I kind of want to explain what destructuring is. And the idea of destructuring is to take an object, or an array in this case, and convert it into smaller objects or smaller elements or smaller variables. So let's take a look at a very simple example. We're just going to take our alphabet array, and we want to get the very first two elements in that array. So normally, if you want to get the first element, you would do something like this. You would say alphabet of index 0, and that's going to give you the first element. So we can just log this out to make sure this is working. Console.log A. And as you can see over here, it's logging out A. Let's just zoom that in actually. There we go. It's logging out A. And for the second element, we would do the exact same thing, just like this, and we would log B. And you can see that's working properly. But this is kind of clunky to do, and there's a much easier way to do this by using destructuring. So let's comment out this way of doing old things, and what's actually coming here. And we know that we want to get the elements A and B. So we can just say we want to get A and we want to get B. And we're just going to set that equal to here alphabet. And if we save, you see we get the same output, A and B. But how exactly does this work? So the idea of destructuring is that what you want to do is you take the element you want to destructure and you put that on the right side of the equal sign. Essentially you're saying destructure this alphabet array. And what we want to do is, since we have an array, we put our parentheses over here, our array brackets, around the elements that we wanted to supply. So we have our variable names A and B that we want to actually get out of this array, and we put those inside of those brackets so that we know we're taking this array apart and putting it in.
Already. Yeah. Doesn't work. Attempt to destructure no interval instance. Attribute iterable no array objects must have a symbol dot iterator method. Maybe it's here. Like this. Yeah, still gonna give me. Yeah. Oh, let's try again. So not here. Let's try this one again. No. I accidentally pressed Ctrl S.
Into these constants a and b, and then the position of these elements is where they're going to get pulled out. So a is the first element inside of this array, so it's going to get the first element. B is the second element, so it's going to get the second element here, and so on. So you can see we get the first and second element, and we just need to put a third element in here, for example c, and this is going to give us the third element. And if we save that, you see we get c over here. But what if we wanted to skip b, for example? What if we only wanted a and c? Well, we can just remove b, leave in this comma, and this is going to say skip the second element. So if we say that, you see we just get A and C, and that's working perfectly fine. But what if we want to get the rest of the elements inside of the alphabet? That's where the idea of the spread operator comes in. So we can just come over here, put 3 dots, and whatever you want to call the rest of the alphabet, we're just going to call it rest, and let's log that out. So console.log of rest. Now if we save that, you see that our first element A goes into the variable A, we skip the second element, and then the third element C goes into this variable C, as you can see A and C.
So maybe I need to use a bunch of commas instead of stats. Max 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 3. Me. No. Maybe if I delete the parentheses, but it's probably not it.
And then everything else, all of the rest of our array, D, E, and F, they all go into this rest variable, which gets printed out over here on the right side of the screen, as you can see, D, E, F. Another really powerful thing with destructuring and the spread operator is you can use it to combine 2 arrays together. So for example, we can come down here, and we can just say we want to create a new array, and this new array is going to be our alphabet array and our numbers array combined together. So we know that we want this to be an array, and we want to get all of the elements inside of alphabet. So we can just say dot 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 alphabet, and this is going to spread all of the alphabet letters all across here inside the array. And then after that, we want to do the same exact thing, but for numbers. So what this is going to do is it's going to put all the alphabet elements here, and then all the numbers afterwards. And we can come in here and we can print that out. So we can just say print new array. And if we save that, you see we get all of the alphabet and then all of the numbers afterwards. Now granted, this isn't entirely that useful for arrays because we can do the same exact thing by saying alphabet.concat and then we pass in numbers. That's going to give us, as you can see, the exact same output over here. But when we move into objects, this syntax will become incredibly useful for combining 2 different objects together. Another place that the array version of this is incredibly useful is when you're dealing with functions and returning more than one parameter from a function. So let's create a function down here, and this function is just going to be called sum and multiply. Oops, multiply. And what this is going to do, it's going to take 2 numbers, a and b, and it's just going to sum them together and multiply them together and return both of those in an array. So where we're going to return here, a plus b, and we're also going to return a times b. So now when we call this function, we're going to be getting an array. So let's do that real quick. We'll say sum and multiply. We'll just say 2 and 3. And we're just going to set this to a value. So we'll say const array is going to be equal to that. And then we'll just console.log out that array. And let's remove all the other code since we don't actually need that right now. And if we save that, you see we get our sum as the first number, 2 plus 3 is 5, and we get the multiplication, 2 times 3, as our second number in that array. But we can use that array destructuring to just come in here and say we want the sum right here, it's the first element, and we know that the multiplication here is going to be the second element, so we can just say we want to destructure the return from this as 2 different variables, one sum and one multiply. And now we can come in here, we can log out sum, and we can log out multiply, and over here we get sum as 5 and multiply as 6. Something else that's really handy that we can do with this destructuring is we can actually set default values. So let's say in here that this also maybe could return a division. And by default, we just want to set the division to maybe say no division. Okay, so by default, this will say no division, but if we pass it a division, it'll actually set to that division. And we can come in here, log out division, and you can see it says no division because the sum and multiply is only returning 2 properties. But if we came in here and set another property, a divided by b, and we run this, you'll see that now division is actually being populated with that third parameter that's being sent out. But when that's not there, it gets populated to the default value, which we set inside of our destructure. And the power of destructuring is really not that apparent in arrays. It's still really useful to be able to destructure in arrays, and like you can see here, there's many use cases for it, especially in functions. But the real power of destruction comes with objects. So let's jump over and look at object destructuring. So here we are with 2 basic objects. We have person1 and person2, and they have the properties of name, age, and address, and that address has the properties of city and state. And now when we want to actually destructure an object, it's going to work very similarly to an array. So let's just go down here, and we can just say that we want to get maybe the name of the person, and we want to get their age. So since we're destructuring an object, we use curly braces instead of square brackets, and we just say what we want to get. We want to get the name property, and we want to get the age property, and we want to get them from person2, for example. So we'll say person2, and we're going to console.log out our name, and we're going to do the same exact thing for the age. And if you say that, we see we get the name Sally and the age 32. This works exactly the same as the array destructuring, but instead of it being
I already tried this. I think it's not how I do it, but maybe I need to put the extra commas. Yeah, doesn't work there.
based on position. It's actually based on the name of the key. So for example, name here is set to name up here, and age, they need to match. But what if you want to use a different name? What if you want to set this variable here to be first name instead? All you would do is put the actual name inside of the object you're destructuring, in our case name, and then after that you put a colon, and then the actual variable name you want. So for example, we want this to be first name, and then we come down here, and we can print out first name. And if we say that, you see we get the same exact output. And what this is doing is it's taking the name property from the person, and it's mapping that to this first name variable that we're creating. And we can even still use default values inside of here. For example, let's say that we want to get something else this person doesn't already have. Let's say we want to get favorite food. And by default, we just want this to be, we'll just say rice. And we can come here, we can log out favorite food. And you can see by default, it is rice. But if we set the favorite food, for example, we'll just say their favorite food is watermelon. Put a comma here, you'll now see that watermelon is being outputted. We can do the same thing for first name. We can default the first name here to John. And if this person has no first name, and we save, you'll see that this first name gets set to John, but when they do have a first name, you'll see that it becomes Sally, which is their actual first name. Also, just like with the array deconstruction, we can do the spread operator as well. So let's go all the way back here to where we just have name, and we can just put ... and any variable name you want. For example, we'll call this rest, and this is going to be the rest of our object. So if we save this, you'll see that we'll get everything else inside of that object, except for the name, which we already took out. So we'll have the address here, the age, as well as the favorite food. But since we took name out here in the destruction, name does not show up in that rest object. Also, something that's really nice about destructuring objects is you can actually destructure nested objects. For example, address. We can come in here, and we can just say that we want to get the street. So we'll say address, and inside of that address, what we want to do is we want to get the street. So what we do is we put the key here, address, which matches the address key inside of the object, and then we put again the curly braces saying that we just want to destructure this new object, and we just want to get the street. So in here, we can print out street, and if we save that, you see how we're getting undefined, and that's because there is no street property in address. So let's, for example, get city instead. Now we can save that, and make sure we change our variable name down here, and you can see that we're getting our city, which is somewhere else, just like it is inside of the object here. And again, we can do default values. Essentially, this works exactly the same. We're just nesting our object deconstruction inside of another object deconstructor. Another thing we can do is actually combine two different objects. So let's take our two objects here, and let's remove the name and the address from person number 2. And we're going to combine person number 1 and person number 2, and everything in person number 2 will overwrite what's in person number 1. So an easy way to do that is we can just come down here. We're going to say that we want this to be person 3. And person 3 is going to be equal. We need to put it inside of our curly brackets here because we're doing destructuring. And we're just going to get all of the rest of person 1 and all of the rest of person 2. And what this is going to say is it's going to say take everything inside of person 1 and put it in the object, and then take everything in person 2 and also put it in the same object, but overwrite anything that was already in person 1. And we can print out person 3 down here, and as you can see, we get the name of Kyle, which is up here, the name in person 1. We get the age of 32 because this gets overridden from person 2. Same with favorite food watermelon, that gets added by person 2. And then the address here is the same exact address as person 1 up above because person 2 doesn't have an address. And this ability to combine two objects together like this is very prevalent in frameworks such as React and even just in normal JavaScript. Another thing that I think is the most important and useful part of object deconstructuring is the ability to use it inside of functions, inside of the arguments. So let's come down here and create a function. And this function is just going to be called print user. And this is going to take in a user. And all this is going to do is we're just going to console log user. So now if we save that and we actually call this function, so we say print user and we pass it in person 1, you can see it prints out the object for that user. What if we only really want to get the name and the age of the user inside this print user function? For example, what if we wanted to print something like this? We could say name is, and then we could print out the name, just like this, user.name. And then we could say also age is, and we can print out the user's age by just saying user.age. Just like this. Now if we say that user's name is Kyle and age is 24. But since we only are using the name and the age, inside of this argument, we can just actually use destructuring. We can say here that all we want to do is we're going to take in an object. That's what these curly braces are saying. We're taking an object, and all we want is the name and the age property of that object. And now we can come down here. We don't actually need this user anymore. We just say name and age. And when we save that, you see we get the exact same output over here because we're passing in person 1. And it's destructuring that and saying all we want is the name and the age. We can also set default. For example, we can come in here and say favorite food, and we can set that to a default again of watermelon. And then when we come down here, we can also print out that. So we can just say right here, we can say, food is, and we just want to print out the favorite food. And now when we say that, you see it says food is watermelon. But of course, if we come over here and we put a favorite food, for example, rice, and we save it again, you see over here, it now says food is rice. This right here is the single most useful part of object destructuring, in my opinion, and I use this by far the most, especially when working with languages like React, because React very heavily uses object destructuring inside of its function calls. And speaking of React, I'm currently working on a React course right now, so if you're interested in learning React and want to learn more about the course I'm working on and more information about when it will be released, make sure you go down in the description below, click on the link.
Get rid of the stats and see if you can destructure it. Max and min of stats. I feel like I already tried this. Yeah. Doesn't work. I feel like I tried everything. No this no all the parts of this code. Use the structure in assignment. Within the argument should the function have should send only max and min inside the function. Use structure in assignment within the argument should the function have and only max and min inside the function. Yeah man, I don't know how to do this. I feel like I tried this. Oh, you need to do both. Maybe that's what's wrong. I did this, but I didn't re-raise the stats. No. Oh. Now it goes. But at least I understand the logic now better. The statement there, when you use brackets, it selects which one is gonna use from the function, from the object, which arguments in the object. Use template literal syntax with backticks to create an array of list element and list strings. Each list, so it's gonna be here. Below this line, above this line. Yeah. So let's read the entire thing. This is a special type of string that makes creating complex strings easier. Template literals allow you to create multi-line strings and to use string interpolation features to create strings. So this command allows you to create multi-line strings and to use string interpolation features to create strings. Consider the following code. Template literal with multi-line and string interpolation. So this is the command. Template literal with multi-line and string interpolation. So it creates a const called greeting. Adds to a string this string here. And inside it calls person and the name value, person age, and then it calls the greeting thing. A lot of things happen there. First, the example uses backticks, not quotes. So where are those on the keyboard? I don't know where. Oh, here. So this is a backtick. No. So no. Yeah, maybe it is this one. Okay, but anyway, to wrap the string. Secondly, notice that the string is multiline, both in the code and the output. This saves inserting \n within strings. The $sign variable syntax used above is a placeholder. Basically, you won't have to use concatenation with the plus operator anymore. To add variables to strings, you just drop the variable in a template string and wrap it with $, and similarly, and brackets. Similarly, you can include other expressions in your string literal. For example, this new way of creating strings gives you more flexibility to create robust strings. Use template literal syntax with backticks to create an array of list elements LE strings. To create an array of list elements LI. Each list element's text should be one of the array elements from the fader property. So this. Each list element's text should be one of the array elements from the fader property on the result object and have a class. Here's the result object. I have a class attribute with the value text warning. And have a class attribute with the value text warning. So each one has a class. Don't even know how to begin with this one. The makeList function should return the array of list item strings. MakeList function return the array of list item strings. Yeah. Is an iterator method any kind of loop? So maybe it's exactly like HTML. I thought it was asking to make classes like objects here. Use an iterator method, any kind of loop, to get the desired output shown below. Template strings and expression interpolation should be used. An iterator should be used. So it has to iterate. So it should be maybe this is not the backslash, the backtick. It's template literal backticks. But that's the only one I have on the keyboard here. So I don't understand exactly what he wants me to do. How I'm gonna do this. Okay. And this can't be the right symbol. Let me search. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to write that or choose the $sign to write it. Delete in the class. So this should be the output. It's 3 strings. So the text inside here is the list. It's from failure and result. Maybe we should have result.failure there. Yeah. And it's giving me an error up here. Which I don't know why. Or maybe it's because it doesn't have the codes. Let's see if this is there. Yeah. Alt-GR plus E. Mine is different than the picture here. That's showing. It doesn't have the Z. I feel like every keyboard should have this. No. It has to be this one here. But it says there's a problem. Maybe it's like this. No. Also not. What if I just do like this? Now it works, but I need to find on my own. Yeah, I don't think my keyboard has this. What about now? Let's see, C3 tag. Between the P and this interest, yeah, was the one that I was using, but Shift plus then space. Now it goes, okay. So let me think about this. There needs to be 3 V's. Should I write them? And then write the function. And it doesn't feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. Text warning. And I should iterate over them, which I also don't know how to do inside of this. To call different values every time. This should be 0 here. and it should be like this 3 times. And here should be 1, 2. Almost sure that this is probably wrong, but let's see. So this $sign and the strings are correct. Oh. Forgot here. Now I think is the way it's supposed to be. So failure list should be equal to the specified output. Maybe just the spaces here. And it's all on the same line also. But on this one, it's not on the same line. Oh, he uses a exclamation mark here. Didn't see that. And that's what separates. Oh no. That's just part of the expression. My name is. Maybe I need to press enter here and put each one in a different line. Let's see if I do this. It still has slash n here. Where is this? So why is this not multi-line? That's what I wanna know. If I'm using the correct strings. Maybe it has to be outside of the brackets. Let's try that. No, it doesn't change anything. At least the text is written the right way. It has the right values. Line break. Short variables to string. We just drop the variable in a template string and wrap it with the signs. Similarly, you can include other expressions in your string literal, for example. And this new way of creating strings gives you more flexibility to create robust strings. Use template literal syntax with backticks to create an array of list elements LE strings. Maybe each one is a separate thing. And there's 3, I think. Maybe it's the same structure here. And if I change this, it's gonna give me the same thing. Yeah. It doesn't go to the other line. Show the variable string, just drop the flavor. Use template literal string literal syntax with backticks to create an array of list elements, LD strings. Each list element text should be one of the array elements from the failure property. On the result object and have a class attribute with the value text warning. The makeList function should return the array of list item strings. I might have to look at the solution again. Using iterator methods, any kind of loop to get the desired output shown below. So I'm supposed to write a for loop inside of the brackets there. Where is that in this code? And it should be separated by a comma there. So two questions. One is if I should use a for loop inside of these brackets there. And the other one is if I should put this Lee class into a string, kind of like this thing here. Like the same way I did before. Oh no. Like this. And then here I put this operator. Then here slash D. I don't know if this is how it's supposed to do. And then I should use a for loop to make 3 of this. Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch a video on this one. Because I'm not getting anywhere. Like, I don't even know how to start this. It's required to use template literals to return a list as every element in the array is the element will be wrapped in. I guess, what is template literals exactly? That's kind of... maybe it's because it's in English. I don't know. Iterate through each element of R. Iterate through each element of R. Well, let's start from the beginning. Iterate through each element of R and add a new element composed of template literal using R's elements to create the array failure items. Iterate through each element of R. What element of R? This one? Like, there's no elements here. And add a new element composed of a template literal using R's elements to create the array failure. Iterate through each element of R and add a new element composed template literal using R's elements to create the array failure. Don't understand what this means, to be honest.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to create strings using literal templates. A new feature of ES6 is template literal. This is a special type of string that makes creating complex strings easier. Template literals allow you to create multi-line strings and use string interpolation, which just basically means put data into strings, features to create strings. Consider the code below. We have a constant of a person. His name is Zodiac Hasbro, which is a crazy name. Age is 56. And that is an object, and we're assigning this object to the person constant variable. We have a template literal within multi-lines and string interpolation. The constant greeting, hello, my name is, so then we have person.name. So this would come out to be Zodiac Hasbro. I am, and then their age. So as you can see, it prints out this useful thing. And so this is string interpolation. This is used a lot. A lot of things happen there. Firstly, the example of the backticks, now quotes. If you notice here, you've got backticks. Right? And that's pretty important. We're not using quotes, the single quotes or double quotes. So you need to use backticks. This is actually, I think, the first time that we've seen this to wrap strings. Secondly, notice the string is multi-line, both in the code and the output. You see that this new line has been maintained, even though there's no specific code there aside from a new line.
Go to the bathroom real quick.
The money, or this saves inserting new lines or /n within strings. This is called a bling, and then inside is the variable. The syntax used above is a placeholder. Basically, you won't have to use concatenation with the plus operator anymore, which means instead of saying I am space and then putting this into quotes and then putting a plus and then putting person.age and then put a plus and then add a string that is all this, you can just do the string interpolation. To add variables to strings, you just drop the variable in the template string and wrap it with a bling and curly brackets. Similarly, you can include other expressions in your string literal. For example, bling and then curly brackets a plus b. This new way of creating strings gives you more flexibility to create robust strings. We want to use template literal syntax with backticks to display each entry of the result object's failure array. So the failure array, result, success, failure. This is the failure array. Each entry should be wrapped inside of a list li element, so it's like a list element with a class attribute of text warning and listed within the results display array. This is some real coding stuff. Like if you're building web apps, you're gonna be doing this kind of thing all the time. So use an iterator method, any kind of a loop, to get the desired output. Okay, cool. So our result for failure here, we want to say make a list of an array. We want to change the code below this line and above this line. Result display array. So result display array, constant result display array. So what we're doing is just setting result display array. We want to have, okay, cool. Make list of an array. And we're passing in make list of result.failure. Result.failure. Okay, so they're passing in this array. So we're just going to be dealing with an array that gets passed in. So okay, for var I, or let index equal 0. Index is less than the array.length.
So you use
I plus equals 1. Okay, so now we have a loop which goes through the array. This is, well, we can set this equal to a string. And then within this, we want to say result display array. So for each element in this array, we want to add the string. And I'm using these backticks here because what we want to do is go the array at point I. That'll give us, and we want to wrap this in the bling text. And then inside of this, what we want to do is add the list elements, right? So li class equals.
So mine will be const failure items. Well, why these brackets here? I'm not gonna use them. Oh, maybe it's gonna go there later. Now let's follow along this guy. For I equals 0. Bizarre.length. And why is the length of R? That's what I don't understand. Shouldn't it be result here, which is the constant on the top that has the parameters, the, how can I call them, attributes. Like, why is the R.length if R doesn't have anything? It's the opposite way. GTH, yeah, GTH. For var. Oh.
Text dash warning. This is awesome. We're really doing some for real coding right now. And then it's unfortunate it wraps like that. I'm going to move it over here so that we can see it better. And then I'm going to go close li. So what we're doing is we're setting a constant of result display array. Oh, it's read only. Your output will go here. Let's see. So right now what I'm doing is going console display result display array. And so this should give us, yeah, and so this is the variable that we're looking for. Yeah, okay, so now we're getting our result is set to equal to the result display array when we run make list on the result.failure. If we were to run it on result.skipped, we would see.
Go normal speed.
That it would make a list of skipped of ID blacklist, no dupes key. Now, right now we're not maintaining the new line element of this test, which I don't know, I don't really like, but no, we don't want to do it that way. We do it like that, we'll have a new line across each one. But that's not what we want to do anyways. Okay, so let's just run the test and see if this passes. Okay, well, this doesn't pass. Oh, I changed this to skipped. This should be failure. I wonder if that changes it. An iterator should be used. Template strings and expression interpolation should be used. Result display array is desired output. Result display array is desired output. It probably doesn't like that I'm using const. If I run that test, that doesn't pass still either. Okay, I see what's happening. What I'm doing is I'm creating a string, so I'm passing this all in as HTML. What they want is an array of strings. So we want our result, let's see, we can set this back to const. We can make this equal to an array. We could say result display array dot push. And now we're getting an array the way that they want it. So what I was doing was interpolating the string. That would have worked if.
So I need to push. And then I should put that code inside this stuff. Which is gonna be then this symbol here. But how is it gonna know which one? Because that's what I don't understand. How does it know which of these values from failure is gonna take? And probably mine is different than his. And then he has a plus here. Something like that. No. Yeah, he doesn't have plus also. Oh, he uses a different command inside of this $sign thing. Calls array and then I. Which I also don't understand why it works. Should be like this.
If you're building an HTML template, because you could just plug that straight into the HTML, but for whatever reason they wanted us to pass in an array of strings that have this string interpolation in it. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so let's just go through it one more time. So we've got our constant, and we set
here. Constant like this. There are here. Inside this function there's this constant failure items. And it creates a loop and pushes this command inside of this failure items for every I until length of R has reached I. Now how does this R I catches the failure T? Let me see if this passes. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense to me. Why does this? How does it know that it's failure that I'm trying to get? That's the question I have. Maybe it's here the answer. Turn failure items. Constant failure list equal make list. Oh, maybe it's because of this here. Because this equates this constant with make list result.failure, which is this thing here. And this is the function make list. So this is the argument that it receives here, from here. Oh, I think I know where I'm gonna put this on the Python tutorial. This should make it easier to understand this, what's happening here. Whoa. So it creates an object here. Success, failure, skipped, which are these objects. I'm gonna close this. Which are this constant result here, this result object here. Oh, it's getting dark outside. So this is global frame make list here. But where is the same result there? It doesn't show result here. Oh, that's the line that is at here. So let's go again. Const result. Oh yeah, it's because it goes the first line that reads is the const result. Then it skips this function and goes to const failure list. So it doesn't read the functions, it only reads the constants, which are the objects. And only because only because the object is calling that function that it goes there. No, that's why I wasn't understanding, I think. I thought it would read the function first. And then goes to the constant. Let's see. So it creates the tree. Creates the tree arrays from this object, and then it takes out the value specified. By the number here, because it's result failure, and then which is the argument here, the ARR, and the I inside is the identification of which of the values is taken, and then it goes until it reaches the. So if I create like let's do until 2 here instead, and let me type console log scalar items. Maybe just make list. Yeah. No. Failure items. Not fine. Yeah, there we go. So if I go to 2, it only takes the 2. Because it stops at 1, I think. Yeah. And if I put like this, then it gets the 3. And this should pass also. Now I think I get it. So the problem was that I thought it would read this and then this right after, but it jumps from this constant right to this constant. And doesn't read the function. But why doesn't read the function?
That the result is equal to an object, and inside of this object there's key value pairs. The key is success, failure, and skipped, and then the value are these arrays. And inside of these arrays there's 1, 2, 3 strings. 1, 2, 3 strings. This one there's 2 strings. So what we do is we have a function that says make a list. So if our program renders a success, we want to make a list of list elements, you know, the dotted line period, like in HTML, you've got like a list element, right? It's where you have, you know, unordered lists have periods for each bullet point, and then ordered lists have like 1, 2, 3. And so we're making a list of that, and they've got a class of text warnings. So we're going to be stylizing them as a warning here. My guess is we can say that if it was a success, we could change this to text success in the future, but that's not necessary for now. Anyways, that's the result. And then so we're going to make a list depending on the array that's being passed in. And so then
Yeah,
we're
if I wanted another point, I would just, by changing here, should give me, yeah, now it gives me the values of the first thing. Okay.
creating a constant of result display array, and we're setting that equal to an empty array. And then we're going to iterate through whatever array was passed in. So on our make list function, which was called down here, make list, our array that is being passed in is result.failure. So result.failure. So what we're being passed in is this array. And so this array becomes this guy right here. And then we're using this guy, the array that's being passed in, to loop through the array. So we're going to go this element, this element, this element. So at first it's array at position 0. And then the second, and then we loop through, and then I becomes 2. And then array at position 2, or array becomes 1. And then so then we pass in this guy. And so we keep adding this to the constant, right? And then we do the third one. So we get this no var here, and then text warning, var on top here, and then line break here. And so all three of these are passed in, are pushed in. So we've got the string pushed in here as the first one, and then we've pushed in here. And then we've pushed in here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And now the once that loops, and then once I becomes 2, I is less than array, or once I becomes 3, I is less than array.length. That's not true. So this for loop stops executing. And then we come down here and we return display, result display array, which we have pushed on those last 3 values. And that's how we get this section, this result. And it's the right result. Anyways, I've kind of gone into depth on this one. I hope you guys found this helpful, and we'll see you in the next. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to create.
And I'm gonna, let's see. My JavaScript calls. How can I say this? How can I search for this? What is the order in which it reads what? JavaScript execution order. I wanted like a simple page with the hierarchy of commands of execution. Hierarchy of execution for commands. Here, I think. Loading priority, network link, execution priority. So scripts come first, then links. Oh, this is a different thing. It's more for HTML with JavaScript, probably. Maybe this one's also nice.
Yesterday, Valentin C tweeted me a Reddit discussion where someone had found a bug created by a really weird JavaScript gotcha. So I boiled it down to this little quiz here. So, given this piece of code, what is logged and in what order? I polled Twitter about this, and these are the results, well, a couple of hours before the poll ended. At the time I created this, 48% say the order will be 1, then 3. It's the most popular answer. 26% say 2, then 3. But the correct answer, as 20% of people voted, is 1, then 2. I really, really love this because, looking at this code, x is being incremented by 1 and x is being incremented by 2, but it never equals 3. And this isn't a problem unique to promises, and it doesn't really have anything to do with closures either. To figure out what's going on here, let's step through the code. We start by creating a variable, x, and making it equal 0. Then we call test. Now, although test is an async function, async functions are called synchronously. Yeah, that's right, async functions are called synchronously. It makes sense. Just gloss over that for now. So we jump straight into here. And this is the line where all the gotchas are. First up, plus equals isn't anything special in JavaScript. It's just syntactic sugar. It unravels to x equals x plus whatever. JavaScript then starts evaluating the right-hand side of the equals to see what it should assign to x. So we start by evaluating x here, which is currently 0, and now we move on to this next bit. Await 2. Now, 2 isn't a promise, but that doesn't mean it's available synchronously.
It calls the function first, but it doesn't matter because when it can't read, it just goes to the next one. Then the next one recalls.
When you await something, it's automatically cast to a promise using resolve. So let's unravel that as well. So this value isn't available until the next microtask checkpoint. I'll link to a talk I gave about the event loop which explains microtasks in detail, but briefly, microtasks don't execute until script has finished running. We're still running script right now, so this part of the function has to wait. Meanwhile, we're incrementing x by 1 down here, so let's unravel that as we did before.
But
First thing
on Python, it's not like that. It works. Seems like it goes straight to the function. But here, yeah. Constant, then goes here directly. Maybe a better way to look at this, to search this, is frames and objects, JavaScript. Okay.
we do is evaluate x, which is 0, so we assign 0 plus 1 to x, so x becomes 1. And then we log x, which is now 1, so that's our first answer. We've now finished running the script, and that means we can run that microtask. We're back here, and we can evaluate this as 2. Well, what do we assign to x? Well, x is now 1, but we evaluated it back when it was 0, and we don't re-evaluate it. So x now equals 0 plus 2, which is 2. So x is now 2. We log x is 2, we log 2. And there's the answer. This dodge isn't unique to async functions either. You can create the same sort of weird problem using generators, where you'll be yielding instead of awaiting. So is this just an edge case, or is it something you might hit in the real world? Well, like I said, this came to my attention through a Reddit discussion of real-world code. The real-world code...
Get out of here. This is not gonna watch, you know. I think I'm gonna watch this off stream.
Strings
later.
using literal templates. A new feature of ES6 is template literal. This is a special type of string that makes creating complex strings easier. Template literals allow you to create multi-line strings and use string interpolation, which just basically means put data into strings, features to create strings. Consider the code below. We have a constant of a person. His name is Zodiac Hasbro, which is a crazy name, age is 56. And that is an object. And we're assigning this object to the person constant variable. We have a template literal within multi-lines and string interpolation. The constant greeting, hello, my name is, so then we have person.name. So this would come out to be Zodiac Hasbro. I am, and then their age. So as you can see, it prints out this useful thing. And so this is string interpolation. This is used a lot. A lot of things happen there. Firstly, the example of backticks. Now quotes. If you notice here, you've got backticks. Right? And that's pretty important. We're not using quotes, a single quotes or double quotes. So you need to use backticks. This is actually, I think, the first time that we've seen this to wrap strings. Secondly, notice the string is multi-line, both in the code and the output. You see that this new line has been maintained, even though there's no specific code there aside from a new line. This saves inserting new lines or /n within strings. This is called a bling, and then inside is the variable. The syntax rejects failure array. So the failure array, result, success, failure. Our result for var I, or let index equal 0. Index is less than the array dot length. I plus equals 1. Okay, so now we have a loop which goes through the array. We can set this equal to a string. And then within this, we want to say result display array. So for each element in this array, we want to add the string. And I'm using these backticks here because what we want to do is go the array at point I. That'll give us, and we want to wrap this in the bling text. And then inside of this, what we want to do is add the list elements, right? So li class equals text dash warning. This is awesome. We're really doing some for real coding right now. And then it's unfortunate that it wraps like that. I'm going to move it over here so we can see it better. And then we're going to go close li. So what we're doing is we're setting a constant of result display array. Oh, it's read only. Your output will go here. Let's see. So right now what I'm doing is going console display, result display array. And so this should give us, and so this is the variable that we're looking for. Yeah, okay, so now we're getting our result is set to equal to the result display array when we run make list on the result.failure. If we were to run it on result.skipped, we would see that it would make a list of skipped of ID blacklist, no dupes key. Now, right now we're not maintaining the new line element of this test, which I don't really like, but no, we don't want to do it that way. If we do it like that, we'll have a new line across each one. But that's not what we want to do anyways. Okay, so let's just run the test and see if this passes. Okay, this doesn't pass. Oh, I changed this to skipped. This should be failure. I wonder if that changes it. An iterator should be used. Template strings and expression interpolation should be used. Result display array is desired output. Result display array is desired output. It probably doesn't like that I'm using const. If I run that test, that doesn't pass still either. Okay, I see what's happening. What I'm doing is I'm creating a string, so I'm passing this all in as HTML. What they want is an array of strings. So we want our result, let's see, we can set this back to const. We can make this equal to an array. We can say result display array dot push. And now we're getting an array the way that they want it. So what I was doing was interpolating the string. That would work if you were building an HTML template because you could just plug that straight into the HTML, but for whatever reason they wanted us to pass in an array of strings that have this string interpolation in it. So I hope that makes sense. So let's just go through it one more time. So we've got our constant, and we set the result is equal to an object. And inside of this object, there's key value pairs. The key is success, failure, and skipped, and then the value are these arrays. And inside of these arrays, there's 1, 2, 3 strings. 1, 2, 3 strings. This one, there's 2 strings. So what we do is we have a function that says make a list. So if our program renders a success, we want to make a list of list elements. You know, the dotted line period, like in HTML, you've got like a list element, right?
Okay, I think I get it now. I think I'm gonna subscribe to this guy. Up another bunch. Yeah, let's subscribe to this guy. yeah, so I think for today this is it, and yeah, I'll be back maybe tomorrow, maybe another day. So yeah, see ya.